Welcome to week 4, and in this lesson we're going to get into basic object construction tools. We're going to work with constraints as far as from your object snap toolbar, and before we've worked with just straight lines. Now we're going to start working with more curvature to it, and it's not difficult. It's just understanding how AutoCAD utilizes commands to make things work. And I want to show you. I'm going to jump into tutorial out of chapter 2, the tutorial. And if you open your book, you can follow right along with me. And I want to draw this, and I want to show you some of the tricks to it. Now, when I look at this, it is a metric drawing. Now, whenever you use this wizard, come over here to start from scratch. And you see how it's in imperial feet and inches. We want to change that to the metric system. So click on the metric system and hit OK. And what it does, it goes ahead and it opens up AutoCAD for you. And then what it does is it reboots its memory, its system. Okay? It takes that imperial feet and inches and it removes it and it puts the metric system in. So you'll notice it'll come in to a normal AutoCAD screen just like this when it gets loaded up, and you'll be ready to start drawing. However, if you need to set it up according to a certain discipline, you'll need to go back in and do a new. After this thing gets loaded up, I'll show you. Alright, we're ready now. Just come up here and hit new again and just bypass this. Go over here to use a wizard, and you'll notice now this drawing's in decimal, so I'm going to use decimal, east 0, that's fine. Counterclockwise is fine. And you notice now our limits are 420 to 297. Now in the metric side, when you're doing decimal work, it's in millimeters. So these are millimeters. So hit finish and you're ready to start drawing. Now I'm looking at this part and I've just flipped over to the page that has all the dimensions of finished product, and I want to draw this. Now you go through the tutorial and it's going to show you a lot of commands that's going to be helpful to you, but I'm going to draw this thing up for you. And the first thing that I always do is this. Whenever I start drawing something that's going to have a lot of shape to it, I come up here. You see your toolbar up here? If you don't have that on, yours looks like this, come up here and hit this little drop down tab and go show menu bar. And when you do that, you'll have a tools. You click on it, go to toolbar, AutoCAD, and you slide down here to object snap. Now what that does is it puts this object snap toolbar up for you. Now it's the same as down here. We've already worked with it. You got down here object snap. If I click that on, it lets me snap to the things that I've chose. Now to be able to see what I've chose, you right click on top of it and slide to settings. Now when you get into settings, like you have endpoint, midpoint, center, node, quadrant, intersection, it's got all this stuff on. But you notice over here I don't have hardly any of these on. And there's going to be a lot of those that you'll use that are not on, and that's the reason I bring up this manual toolbar, especially the tangent. But I'll leave that off for right now and hit OK, and I want to show you what each one of those functions are. I want to put just some lines in here, and I want to show you a line. With this turned on here, we had endpoint. See that endpoint? That's your endpoints right there. Okay. Now if you want midpoint, and this right here is the same as midpoint. Midpoint is like a little triangle. It finds the center of the line. Then you have a parent snap to intersection. That's if you got two things that are crossing. Let's say we got two things crossing. If you hit line, and that one's turned on in our snap as well, but you see how it puts that little X there? Alright, in a parent intersection, it kind of works the same way. Let's say if I took this back here and went line. You see how it does an apparent intersection? Now you've got center here, and I had that one turned on down here in my object snap. If I wanted to put a line, go to center, see how it catches my center point. This is quadrant, and your quads are around the 4 90-degree points of your circle. Tangent is a little bit different. I hit line and I hit tangent. See, I don't have that turned on snap. You see when I come over here to line, it just catches my quads and my center. If I want tangent, I'll click it. Do you see that? How I snap to tangent? And what it is tangent is just when you run smooth into an arc or radius. And then I'll come over here and click that endpoint. Y'all see how nice and smooth that cleaned into it? That is a tangent. Okay? Now you also have perpendicular. Say if you want to put a line here, and I want to come into this. I don't want to hit that midpoint. I want to be perpendicular here. You can click on perpendicular and see how it gives you that. And now if I measure that, it should be a 90 degrees because perpendicular means 90, right? So there you go. And then there's a couple others here. You got parallel. You got snap to insert. You got snap to node. We're not going to really use them right now. We will a little bit later, and I'll show you those. But here's another one that you might use quite a bit. If you're just sketching and estimating, hit line and hit nearest, and it lets you kind of float on the line. Let's say I'm estimating, but right there I'll start a line out. You see what I'm saying? You put that line in there like that. Alright, that's enough to get started with these drawings. And there's one more thing. We talked about the direct line method the other day, and you remember you start a point, and you can use ortho to either draw, vertically or horizontally, and say you want to move 5, hit enter. Y'all see that? There's also a way to get angles using the direct line method, and it's right here. Y'all see this? This is polar tracking, and you click it on, and you could either be one or the other, okay? But polar tracking lets you draw with the direct line method at an angle instead of doing exactly due east, due north, type things like that. So all you have to do is right click on it, go to settings, and you see how the degree is 30. Well, remember my 0 is due east and I'm going counterclockwise. So let's say I want to do a 22 degree angle. I hit OK on that, and I hit line and make sure my polar tracking's on, and it doesn't matter where you start at, but you kind of see that perforated line there. When I come up 22 degrees, it'll show it again. You see it right there? And now I could type in, maybe I want to go 10 millimeters. Y'all see that? It makes it so nice. And you'll notice here, if I set it on, 22? Every 22, it'll show up again, like 44, 66, 88, 110. So it'll show up every 22 degrees, and it's really handy to start drawing in angles and things. You can use the polar coordinates, but I like this method too. It's a lot faster in some regards. Alright, with all that basic work under us, let's start drawing. First thing I would do with this one, I would start with a circle, that radius of 25, and I want to start at 0, 0 to make it easy. It's a 25 radius. Okay. Now, looks like we're going over 50 and up 60 to get the radius of 50, so I'll hit the radius again. My X is 50, my Y is 60. Enter. Just using absolute coordinates there. And radius of 50. Enter. Okay, let's do one more circle. Or I could have hit spacebar and it would have repeated it. But from this one, if I go from 0, 0, I'm going over 50 plus 70, and X would make that 120. And then 60 plus 40 is 100, and Y. Enter. And then it's a radius of 25 as well. Just like that, we've got it done. And we're ready to put in this line that touches tangent off this to tangent on this. You see how it's really smooth as it runs into that? So I hit line, I hit tangent, snap to tangent, and I choose this line. And you pretty much snap it. You see the little tangent symbol? You snap it about where you think it's going to be blended in smooth. So about right there looks good. And the next point, I have to come up here and hit tangent again. And I believe it's going to blend in about right there. And it automatically adjusts it to where it's perfect. We'll do the other side. Tangent. And then we'll do the other side. Just like that. Quick and easy, very simple, not too hard. Now, you've got down here at the bottom, you've got some arcs that are coming around through here that are tangent to our circles. One is a radius of 50 on this side, and the back side here is a radius of 40. So all I have to do is a really cool trick, and it's in your circle command. Now you've got a bunch of different commands here. Center radius, center diameter, you got a 2-point, a 3-point, and you got a tan radius and a tan. Alright, this tan radius means I'm going to use 2 points that are going to be tangent, and then I just give it a radius and it automatically blends it in. Alright, and I'll show you that real quick, and I'll show you all these commands here in just a second. But I want to show you this tan radius. It's just like you're using this snap, but it automatically sets it up for you. So to ask you down here, pick the first tangent, really is what it's saying. Alright, so you see how it's automatically set up on tangent? I didn't have to hit snap or nothing. I click it, it's going to be right there, about right there. The second side's going to come in about right there. And it asks me for a radius, and that radius is 40. You see how it brings that circle in perfectly? And I want to do the same thing right over here to this side. When I click tan radius, automatically the snaps for tangent are already there. And then I want to click in 50 for the radius, just like that. Now, you've got it set up. I mean, basically the drawing, the outline of the drawing is done. We just got to do some trim work. Before we do the trim work, I want to show you some more of these tools here, just so that you'll understand them. And off to the side here, let's put these up. Alright. This, you know how to use these two, okay? Center radius or center diameter. 2-point, click on 2-point, and you're going to put a circle between 2 points. Just like that. 3-point, you're going to put a circle between 3 different points. I'll put the end point to the midpoint of that, and then I'm going to hit perpendicular over here, so I'll hit perpendicular. Right. Didn't grab my circle just right. Let's go back here and redo that one. I like the way that turned out. There we go. We used 3 points to be able to put that in. Alright, let's see. Next, tan radius is just what we did right here. You want to be tangent to 2 different surfaces. Now, it doesn't have to be an arc. It can be 2 lines like this. And when you do tan radius, you can be tangent off this line to this line, and then let's put in a 50 radius and see how it blends it smooth into those. And then you can go in there and you can trim that out if you want to. Alright. Then the last one is a tan. That means I'm going to be tangent to 3 different surfaces. Click on this. Maybe I'm going to be tangent to this, to this, to this. Let's see if it'll put it in. It did. So it's hitting this, and it's going to, if I stretch this line over, you'll see that it's actually tangent to that. It just, the lines wasn't long enough. And this is the same thing. Alright. So those are your different circle commands. They're really handy to use. And you see how those tan radiuses worked out for us. So when you get to this point, come up here to trim and right click and enter. And you just click on what you don't want. I don't want any of that or any of this. And right there is our basic look of that part. And now we just got to do a couple more things to it. We got to put us a radius in here. and we got to put us a square up here, and looks like a hexagon right here. So let me get some dimensions on that. We'll start out with this hexagon here in the middle. Now it's asking for a 60 millimeter hexagon. Hexagon has 6 sides, and if you come up here to this point right here, you see a rectangle. If you'll click down and go to polygon, it'll ask you down at your command center, how many sides? Well, hexagon has 6 sides. And then find the center. Well, we've already got our object snap on with center chose. So click right there in the center. And it's asking, is this going to be inscribed or the circumference, or about a circle? Now, I'm going to show you the difference. Now, this is going to be around the circumference. So I'm going to hit C, enter, and I want to hit 60. Enter. Oh, too big. What'd I do? Well, it asked me for a radius and not a diameter. I put the diameter in. So let's go back and try it again. Hit your polygon, 6 sides, enter, specify the center. C's already chosen, and the radius of 60 is 30. Alright, so what's the difference between circumference about a circle or the inscribed? Well, I'm going to show you. This one, like we said, we put in 60 or 30 radius, which is a 60 diameter. If I come back in here to hit center radius, I kind of hover around this arc and it'll find me the center point of it. If I type in 30 for the radius, do you see how this polygon is on the outside of that circle? That's the difference. Circumference means that your polygon is going to stay on the outside of the radius or the diameter of the circle. It's going to stay outside of it. So, like you would think, inscribed, if I do an inscribed, again, I got to find the center, and I'll show you here. Let's find the center of it. There we go. And if I hit I for inscribed, and I typed in 30 for the radius, you see how this polygon stays inside of that 30 radius? And what that means, if you're trying to figure this out to make it in more simpler terms, is when you do a circumference, you'll be measuring from flat to flat. If you are doing inscribed, it'll read from point to point. Okay? So that's the difference between those two. Alright. We're going to move right along here. So we got that in there. I'm just going to take that dimension off so it'll be easier to see. And we've got just a basic circle over here. That's no big deal. And I just got to look up, see what size that is. It is a radius. It's a radius of 20, or a diameter of 20. So you can hit radius or center diameter. It gives us a diameter, and you can figure out the radius of a diameter, or you can hit D for diameter there and tell it 20. It's a lot quicker. And then up here at the top we got a 20 by 20 rectangle. Now you can choose a rectangle. I'd rather use a polygon, and just type in 4 sides and find the center of it right there. And this one is going to be a circumference because we're reading flat to flat. So C, and the radius of that would be 10, be half of 20, and there we go. And there's that drawing in a nutshell. So if you need any help with any of this right here, please don't hesitate to contact me. But for the next projects, we got project project 3A through 3C, and I will draw those, all 3 of those, on another video tag to this week's lesson. So again, if you need help, please contact me.